Hi, good morning. Okay, so if you study Rasta, you're watching videos and everything, you've probably noticed by now that everybody always says this Ital. Ital is vital, or they Ital, or they Ital Rasta. What's this the Ital thing, you know? So like the kind of like the main components of Rasta, you know, that all of us have in common is Ital and reggae and dreadlocks and smoking cannabis, right? The life of Ital Selassie, Rastafari, the Ethiopian emperor. So right now we've talked about the Ital Selassie, and I have the playlist and have linked and given you the link to that about Ital Selassie, how he's the Lion of Judah, and Bob Marley. In the life of Bob Marley, we got a playlist on that and everything. And then there's a playlist on ganja and smoking herb and about that and the biblical references and how the ganja's in the Bible and everything. and so this video right now, like I want to talk about what Ital is. Ital, if you say, hey, to a Rasta, what is Ital? And they're, Yaman, Ital means, to live a natural life, to eat natural things, to be a vegan, basically. Ital pretty much means to be vegan. But a little more in depth on that. The word Ital, it means good. Like, how you doing? I'm good. I'm Ital. But really, and to even go deeper to the actual literal translation into English, what Ital means. Ital means in Amharic, it means to be genuine. So if you're Ital, you're genuine. What it means by genuine is, like you say you're a Rasta. There's people that say they're Rasta. They have dreadlocks, they smoke herb, they listen to Bob Marley, and they know a thing or two, and they say they're Rasta, but they might not be Ital. They're just kind of for show. In other words, if you're genuine, if you're Ital, and you really are trying to understand the message of Rastafari, you go down a different path. Yeah, you actually listen. If you're a Rasta, you believe Ital Selassie is Jah incarnate, just like Jesus is. He's not the reincarnation of Jesus, but he's the Jah incarnate, like Jesus is the Jah incarnate. And so that means you take what he says very serious and believe it's completely relevant to everything around you. When you go down and you're studying his life and everything, it's gonna affect your beliefs and your opinions and things like that, just like everything else is. Even when you choose a friend, it affects you. We all rub off on each other, so the thing with that is Ital Selassie, he's against organized religion and everything, but he loves the Bible, and he loves Rasta's this combination of, we've outgrown the idea that the Bible's the Word of God, literally, and we've outgrown the idea of organized religion, and the earth becomes our church and our body becomes the temple, and we learn how to meditate and transcend ego, so that there aren't attachments to any of those things and other things that's slowing us down, and chant down Babylon, so we know to be separate from the world and everything. But then when you start reading and rereading the Bible, from the perspective of what you've learned and your new things, you start to hear the voice of Jah, you could say, in the message. And in Numbers chapter 11, there's the famous story of, so Moses, the Exodus, he leads the people across the wilderness, leads the people across the Red Sea into the wilderness. We all know that story, probably the most famous story in the Bible. Parts the Red Sea, and everybody goes into the wilderness. So then for 40 years they're in the wilderness, and and Moses is talking to Jethro, and he's, they're like, oh, Moses, now we're here, so what, they didn't, they didn't have the background of kind of like the slaves in the days of slavery here in America, how we took them out of their world and we stole their religion and their culture from them, and they had to refine those things, So that's kind of like what they do in the wilderness. Is now they're like, also we're Hebrews, but what, you know, what are our beliefs? So Moses is consulting with Jethro, and he's educated on being an Egyptian magician, and just ends up coming up with the mixture that is the religion, the Torah. So he also ends up feeding them manna. These things ring bells. It's pretty famous. Maybe some of the most famous moments in the Bible. The manna. The manna is a vegetarian substance that falls from the sky, and then the people eat that. So the Lord, he had the people not eating meat. He had them being vegetarian and eating manna instead of meat. But the people started crying to Moses. This is Numbers chapter 11. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, the fourth book in the Old Testament. Chapter 11. The people said, Moses, please plead before Jah that, that we can eat meat. We miss eating meat. We're tired of eating manna all the time. You can imagine like tofu, but the Lord says, you'll only eat tofu, and then pretty soon everybody would be like, please, can we eat some meat? We're tired of eating tofu all the time. We're tired of eating manna all the time. I'm not saying that's the same thing, but And so the Lord, Moses went to the Lord and said, okay, fine. And so he goes to the Lord, and the Lord says, okay. Jah says this. Numbers chapter 11, he says, okay, fine. I hope they eat, I'll let them eat meat, and I hope they eat it till they puke it out their nostrils. And then later he gives them the law of clean and unclean meats, that you shouldn't eat the shelled fish and the bottom dwellers in the ocean, and that you shouldn't eat the pigs and the dirty animals. So basically, the clean and unclean meats, the dirty animals and the clean animals. Eat the clean animals, but not the dirty animals. We all know Jews that don't eat pork and things like that. So in this story, when you're trying to understand Jah, you're trying to read the Bible and absorb this deity that Jah is the deity of the Bible. You're trying to understand it, and you don't really care what everybody's saying, because you know that everything's bullshit. Even the Bible and all the translations involved in all this bullshit. So you're trying to get the spirit of the story. You're trying to understand it, and there you hear that part, and you finally hear the story for the first time. That Jah wished we were vegetarian. You're like, oh, wait a minute, puke it out the nostrils. What's Jah so mad about? And you realize, holy cow. And so then, when you reread the creation story, you realize that it says that Jah gave man and woman that he created on the sixth day, gave them meat, gave them the plants for meat. M-E-A-T, meat. So, from the Bible, the meat originally wasn't flesh. Meat was plants, and that was the meat. Sometimes we do this even today. We call, cut this part of the plant. That's the meat part of the plant. You've probably heard that. So, if you look at my playlist on the origins of our world and species, you'll see that the early ancestors in our evolution were vegetarian, and mostly vegetarian, and slowly kind of evolved into the meat eating. The length of our intestines and stuff, we have vegetarian intestines. It's obvious our bodies was originally designed to be vegetarian, but then we've been eating meat for a long time, and so it also makes sense. So that's what it is. If you're Ital, if you're genuine to trying to figure out what Jah and serve Jah and live the way Jah wants, you realize that what Jah wants is for you to be vegetarian and to use the plants and the herbs and not really to kill. We have dominion over the earth, and we're the masters of the earth, because a better mind is better than because intellect wins over brawn, wins over the bigger abilities of the animals in the physical way. We can outsmart them. That gives us dominion. That makes us masters. That makes us caretakers of the earth. We're here to love the earth. We're here to love the animals, and we're here to take care of the earth and take care of the animals. Take care of the animals. I'll say it again. Take care of the animals. That's our job. Okay? We're not really supposed to eat them. We're supposed to take care of them and love them and understand them and guide them and help them. Okay? But we eat meat too. So one thing to notice is when I was reading the biography of Bob Marley, I realized Bob Marley was his best friend was a soccer player, a professional soccer player. Bob Marley was really into soccer. Bob Marley was an athlete, period. He was like really big on his neighborhood, and people would like be living in his house and bunking on his couch probably and things like that, and had, he was the rich guy in a poor neighborhood that everybody looked up to, and kind of played a fatherly role in that type of a way. And he would lead everybody at the beginning of the day on a jog. They'd go on a 5-mile jog, every day. That's pretty. 5 miles. Can you run 5 miles? So he ran 5 miles a day. His best friend was a soccer player. He played soccer all the time, and lived an athletic life. And part of his routine after his 5-mile jog, they would go to the market, and they'd buy fruits and vegetables, and they'd buy an Ital regime. They'd buy an Ital diet and stuff, and they would buy fish. So if you study the life of Bob Marley was a vegan that also ate fish. Well, there's a word for that. It's called pescatarian. Okay, pescatarian. A pescatarian is someone that's vegetarian, but they do eat fish. Pesca is like fish in Latin. So most vegetarians are lacto-ovo-vegetarian. Lacto meaning dairy, ovo meaning eggs, because you're not really killing anything with milk and eggs. So you're vegetarian. Of course, you guys on your own can study the difference between vegan and vegetarian. There is a difference. Ital would be vegan. Just straight up Ital, you're vegan. And that's encouraged in Rasta, but you'll notice you'll see people eat meat, like Bob ate fish and stuff like that. So in the next video, I'm going to go over, I've already explained, there's the green robe Yan Sui, the blue robe Yan Sui, and the white robe Yan Sui. And each one has a diet. The green robe diet, the blue robe diet, the white robe diet. In the next video, I'll talk about that. And in the next video, in the description box, it'll link you to the green robe diet. You start with they build on each other. The green robe diet, So the blue robe diet and the white robe diet basically are the green robe diet with just minor adaptations, different things you'll learn, more spiritual components of the whole thing. So it is true, like one of the largest parts, like I said, I'll review again, the biggest parts of Rasta is you're excited about Haile Selassie, you're Ital, you're trying to live in an Ital way, genuinely interested in living like Jah wants. Reggae and Bob Marley and smoking ganja, so it's those are the bigger components, because and the diet's a perfect example, because not only is an Ital diet, and my diets, I incorporate everything. I incorporate flexitarian, meaning you're as vegan as possible, but you eat meat. Maybe most every day you eat meat like once. I eat meat. I eat mostly fish. I eat sardines and salmon and eggs as my main protein source most every day. And then once or twice a week I'll eat, I might have some beef even, and heaven forbid that's not a very good protein source, or or some chicken or some turkey. But I'm like Bob Marley, pescatarian. You know, when I eat meat, it usually is fish, but I do eat eggs and I do eat dairy. So I'm like lacto-ovo pescatarian. You know, but that's because I do eat chicken and turkey and even a little bit of beef every once in a while, because those are mixed in. In all reality, that's what a flexitarian is. So in my next video, like I said, I'll link you to the green robe diet. In the playlist for the green robe diet, it educates you in better detail what each of those terms mean, and it's long. Like I have, because I was a single parent for a while, and I raised my son. I started my son at birth with dreadlocks and raised him vegetarian, and so I've got when you're a parent, that puts you to the test. You got to feed a kid, you know. So I just got lots and lots and lots of Ital recipes, and so it'll link you to that playlist, and I'll show you my recipes, because that really is, you're like, oh, I don't care about the food, I just like the reggae and the ganja. It's just like, that's just not Ital, man. Because if you really care about the earth, and you really care about the animals, and you really care about the things a Rasta man and a Rasta woman care about, environmental issues, war, you know, eating meat all the time, 3-4 times a day, whenever you want, eating whatever you want, it's part of why we have war. And I'll leave you on your own. You can figure that out. If you're Ital, you'll be able to figure it out. Okay, so the next video I'll link you with the green robe diet, my version of Ital diet. Okay, judge not, you know. Like I told you, Jah gave the law of clean and unclean meats, you know. So that means Jah, you know, it's like kind of like there's different levels. If you're just Ital to the core, you're just trying to just do exactly what Jah wants, you know, then you would be vegan, you know. But but then you can kind of step back a couple steps and say, yeah, I want to do what Jah wants, but I want to incorporate in a couple ideas, you know, for whatever reason and stuff like that. And I'll go over my reasons and blah blah blah. But yeah, Ital is vital.